The slap echoed through the luxurious Thanksgiving banquet hall like thunder. Everyone froze. Crystal glasses trembled on the white linen table. The jazz music died mid-note. And standing at the center of it all, Devin Taylor towered over an elderly woman whose cheek burned red from his hand. "You filthy trash picker," he spat, his voice dripping with disgust. "You don't belong in here. This is a private dinner, not a soup kitchen." The room fell silent. Waiters stopped in their tracks. The scent of roasted turkey and pumpkin pie hung heavy in the air, now tainted by tension and disbelief. The old woman, dressed in a faded gray dress and worn slippers, said nothing. Her trembling hands clutched the trash bag she had been using to gather leftovers. Her eyes, weary yet dignified, glistened with unspoken pain. Across the table, a woman in a shimmering gold gown rose slowly to her feet. Vanessa Johnson, Devin's girlfriend, the billionaire founder of VJ Holdings. Her face turned pale as her eyes darted between Devin and the woman on the floor. "Devin," she whispered, her voice trembling. What did you just do?" He scoffed. "I'm protecting you, babe. This woman was sneaking around the buffet. She was stealing food." But Vanessa didn't answer. Her lips quivered as she stared at the older woman, and then at Devin, as tears welled in her eyes. The old woman spoke softly, her voice breaking the silence like a distant hymn. "You shouldn't have done that, young man, especially not today." Before anyone could respond, Vanessa let out a sharp gasp and collapsed into her chair, covering her mouth in shock. "Devin," she whispered through her tears, "you just slapped my mother." The words sliced through the air. Gasps rippled across the hall. Cameras clicked. Guests exchanged horrified glances. Devin's confident smirk melted into panic. "Wait, what?" he stammered. That's your mother?" Vanessa's eyes blazed through her tears. "The woman you just humiliated and hit. She's my mother. The woman who raised me with nothing, who picked trash to feed me when my father abandoned us." Devin's heart pounded. His voice cracked. "But she looked like—" Vanessa stood abruptly, her voice trembling with rage. "Like what, Devin? Like someone beneath you? Like someone you could insult without consequence?" Before he could answer, Vanessa turned to her staff. "Security," she said coldly. "Escort him out." Two guards approached, but Devin raised his hands. "No, wait. Vanessa, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." Her eyes were cold. "That's the problem, Devin. You never care to know." The crowd parted as Devin stumbled backward, his face drained of color. The murmurs grew louder, guests whispering, phones recording, the perfect storm of humiliation brewing. And through it all, Vanessa's mother, Mama Rose, stood quietly, her cheeks still burning, her eyes filled not with anger, but with sorrow. As Devin was led toward the exit, the golden Thanksgiving lights seemed to dim. He looked back one last time, catching Vanessa's gaze, a mix of heartbreak and fury. Outside, the night air hit him hard. His breath came shallow as he replayed the scene in his head. How could this happen? How could a moment meant to impress his billionaire girlfriend turn into public ruin? But what Devin didn't know was that this night was only the beginning. Because Mama Rose, once a poor scavenger from the streets of Atlanta, had built her own quiet empire behind the scenes. And Devin Taylor, the man who slapped her, had just started a chain of events that would destroy everything he thought he controlled. Inside the mansion, Vanessa turned to her mother, tears falling freely. "Mom, why didn't you tell me you were coming tonight?" Mama Rose sighed. "Because I didn't want to come as Vanessa Johnson's mother. I wanted to come as me." Vanessa knelt beside her. "He didn't know. He's not usually—" Mama Rose raised a trembling hand. "My child, don't defend him. Any man who can strike a stranger will one day strike the woman he loves." The words stung deeper than the slap itself. Just then, thunder rumbled faintly outside, though the sky was clear. Vanessa's chest tightened with dread. Somewhere deep down, she knew her mother was right, and that night had only revealed the surface of a man she never truly knew. As the guests whispered and tension filled the room, Mama Rose picked up her trash bag and began to walk toward the exit. Her steps were slow, deliberate, and full of quiet strength. Vanessa called out, "Mom, please don't go." But Mama Rose only turned once, her voice steady and heavy with meaning. My child, when pride blinds a man, only truth can humble him, and that truth is coming sooner than he thinks. She disappeared through the glass doors as the lights flickered overhead. Vanessa stood frozen, her heart torn between love and shame. Outside, Devin's car screeched away into the night, his reflection briefly caught in the window, distorted by raindrops that weren't supposed to fall. But in the silence that followed, one thing became clear. This Thanksgiving would be remembered, not for the feast or the family, but for the slap that unmasked a man and awakened a truth no one was ready for. And as the thunder rolled again in the distance, Vanessa whispered to herself, Mom, what are you planning? The storm was coming, and neither love nor money would protect anyone from what was about to unfold. By morning, Atlanta woke to headlines that didn't need spice. Thanksgiving slap at Billionaire Gala. Who is the trash picker? VJ Holdings CEO seen in tears. Vanessa shut off her phone and stared through the penthouse windows at a city she once cleaned with her mother's hands. The night felt like a bruise that wouldn't cool. Her mind wandered back to a smaller window, a smaller life. One room off Simpson Road where cold crawled under the door, and Mama Rose tucked towels against the draft. The scent of bleach, the rattle of bottles, little Vanessa sorting cans and plastic by color, while her mother hummed a church tune and said, Dirt isn't the enemy, pride is. Back then, Mama Rose pushed a cart that squeaked and popped, collecting what others threw away. She'd lift a cracked picture frame, wipe it clean, then whisper, There's always a second use if you have second sight. Vanessa learned two lessons at once. Build things and never measure a person by the dust on their sleeves. Years later, scholarships and grit carried Vanessa into logistics software, then into contracts, then into scale, until VJ Holdings became a force. Deliveries, warehousing, green tech, philanthropy. She kept her mother close, but Mama Rose kept her own life. Quiet, stubborn, independent. I won't be a photo on your press wall, she'd say. I'll be the voice that tells you when the picture is crooked. The intercom buzzed. Ma'am, said the concierge, a Mrs. Rose Johnson is here. No appointment. Send her up, Vanessa said, heart climbing into her throat. The elevator opened on a woman in the same faded gray dress, cheeks still tender, eyes undented. In her hands, not a trash bag but a manila envelope, thick with edges. Mom! Vanessa stepped forward, but Mama Rose lifted a palm. I need you to listen first, she said. Her voice was soft, yet it didn't waver. Last night wasn't an accident, it was a mirror. That boy looked in and saw what he thinks he is without you. Vanessa swallowed. He came from nothing too. Mama, coming from nothing isn't the same as learning from it. Mama Rose set the envelope on the granite counter and slid out a stack of papers, incorporation certificates, contract letters, stamped approvals from 3 states. At the center was a logo Vanessa didn't expect to see, a simple sunrise with an arrow circling back. Second Sunrise Recycling, Mama Rose said. Started as a route, became a yard, then 3 yards, then city contracts. You built VJ to move things fast. I built this to move things right. When you needed seed money, I didn't want your pride to choke you, so the trust wrote the check. I stayed behind the door. Vanessa blinked at the numbers. An entity she'd only heard whispers about. Green vendors who always paid on time, who shunned cameras, wasn't just adjacent to her company. It fed it, guarded it, owned a piece of it. How much, she managed. 35% through the trust, Mama Rose said. Not for show, for shelter. Vanessa sank onto a stool. Why keep this from me? So you'd build without feeling watched, Mama Rose said. So I could test what comes close. Vanessa closed her eyes. You tested Devin. I tested your chain, Mama Rose said. Every link matters. That boy wanted to be the lock. A silence held them, mother and daughter, the city humming a floor below. Then Mama Rose reached deeper into the envelope and produced a small velvet box. Inside lay a brooch, a vintage cluster of diamonds in the shape of a magnolia, nestled against black silk. I know this piece, Vanessa said. It was on the charity table last night. It vanished. Mama Rose nodded. The kitchen has cameras. The staff watches the exits. But the eyes of a worker see what polished people miss. She flipped the box lid closed. What a man does when he thinks no one is looking is all the truth you need. Vanessa's chest tightened. You think Devin? I don't think, Mama Rose said. I know. They drove to West End, to the lot where the old squeaky cart once lived. Now it was a tidy market 2 mornings a week, free clothes on wire racks, piled book boxes, a line for hot stew. Volunteers in bright vests waved as Mama Rose arrived. City Councilwoman Lydia Brooks crossed the lane and hugged her. Auntie Rose, she said warmly, you saved us again on that landfill audit. Vanessa's eyebrows rose. Lydia winked. The chairwoman keeps things moving. Chairwoman? Mama Rose accepted a paper cup of tea. I'll visit the church after, Lydia. They walked the stalls together. Mama Rose stopped to tie a child's shoelace and to hand a man a clean coat. Vanessa, she said without looking up, the problem never was the slap. It's the mind that made it easy. Then we end it. Not with noise, Mama Rose replied, with light. By afternoon, Mama Rose asked Vanessa to gather her senior team at the mansion where the dinner had soured. 6 sharp, she said. Invite your lawyers, invite your security chief, and invite Devin. Vanessa hesitated. You want him there? I want him to see the mirror without the music. At 6, the banquet hall glowed again, tables stripped to bare wood, the air still holding a memory of herbs and cinnamon. A portable screen faced a semicircle of chairs. Vanessa's COO, her legal counsel, the head of security, and 2 board members settled in. Devin arrived late, a rehearsed smile on his face. Vanessa, he began, hands open, I've drafted a statement. I'll donate to your foundation. I'll sit, Mama Rose said, not unkind but final. Devin blinked. Ma'am, I'm sorry for... Sit, she repeated. He sat. Mama Rose nodded to the security chief, a woman named Candace who had fire in her posture. Candace dimmed the lights and tapped a tablet. The screen flickered. Angles from the kitchen corridor, the back of the ballroom, the display tables where the charity auction had sparkled under fairy lights. The footage rolled, staff moving like careful wind, guests passing in sequins and suits. Then Devin in frame, casual, scanning the table like a shopper at a flea market. His hand hovered over the magnolia brooch. He glanced around, leaned in, and the piece disappeared into his jacket pocket. He smoothed the lapel and lifted a glass of champagne without breaking rhythm. Vanessa's breath left her. The room went so quiet the projectors could be heard humming. Devin stood abruptly. That's not fair. That's edited. I was moving it for safety. People were crowding. Mama Rose opened the velvet box and set it on the table between them, like a pebble dropped in still water. Housekeeping found it in a linen closet where only staff goes if they are paid to look, she said. Candace? Candace slid a clear bag across the table. Recovered from the linen cart behind the men's lounge at 11:52 p.m., fingerprints pending. The brooch was wrapped in a cocktail napkin from the East Bar. Devin's jaw worked. This is a setup. Mama Rose folded her hands. I set nothing up but a table. You threw yourself on it. He looked to Vanessa. You know me. You know I wouldn't. Vanessa's eyes didn't waver. I know what I'm seeing. Devin pointed at the screen, voice rising. All of this over a piece of jewelry? Over a misunderstanding? No, Mama Rose said, standing at last. Her height was ordinary. Her presence filled the room anyway. All of this over a man who thinks the world belongs to him and everyone in it is furniture. She turned to Candace. Play the next clip. The screen paused on a new timestamp. 2 hours before the slap. A far corner of the garden. Devin slipping an envelope to a tabloid stringer through the hedge. Play the audio, Mama Rose said. A hiss, then Devin's whisper. You'll get your picture. Make sure my name's out front. I'm the one who keeps her steady. The room held its breath. Vanessa stared at the man she thought she knew. And the man on the screen, and the distance between them felt like a river she would never cross again. Enough, she said, her voice low. It's over. Devin opened his mouth, but no words came. Mama Rose lifted the remote once more. The screen cut to black. We aren't done, she said. Play the tape from the ballroom doors. The image froze on a frame the room hadn't seen yet. Devon's hand midair, his palm on course. The moment before the echo that started it all. Let's hear what you said before you struck me, Mama Rose murmured. The speakers clicked alive. The room held its breath as the speakers crackled. Then Devon's voice, low and sharp, slid out like a knife. These people like you take what you're given and say thank you. You don't walk past the back door. You don't touch Crystal. You hear me? A rustle, the sound of a tray bumping a chair, a quick intake of breath. Then the flat, hot smack they all remembered. The screen froze on Devon's palm, an inch from Mama Rose's cheek, and still the sound seemed to tremble in the air. No one spoke. Even the projector hum felt guilty. Devon lunged for the tablet. Candace shifted, and he stopped. You all think you know what this proves, he said, forcing a laugh that wouldn't land. You don't. There was chaos. Someone bumped me. It's... Vanessa cut in, her voice quiet and steady. That's you, Devon. Those are your words. He spread his hands toward her, pleading. Nessa, Vanessa. Baby, don't let them turn last night into a trial. I messed up. I'll make it right. Mama Rose lifted a hand and he went still. You told a stranger where you believe a woman's place is, she said. You stole what didn't belong to you. You sold her name to cameras for a few cheap clicks. What exactly would you make right first? Something in Devon's face changed, like a door slamming behind his eyes. The apology on his lips dried up. You've never liked me, he said to Mama Rose. From the start. I met you with an open hand, she replied. You brought your own fence. He looked back to Vanessa, reaching for a sweeter tone. They're playing you. I stood by you when regulators came sniffing around your green credits, remember? When those city contracts got delayed, that was me making calls for you. Vanessa's jaw tightened. What calls? He took a step closer and dropped his voice. The kind where people stop asking rude questions. The kind you can't put on paper. Sit down, said Candace. Devon didn't sit. You want paper? He smiled, and the smile had edges. Fine, here's paper. You think you're the only one with an envelope? He pulled a folded legal document from his inside pocket and slapped it down on the table. Mutual non-disclosure, sweetheart. You signed. You don't talk about what I do for you. I don't talk about what you do to keep your numbers pretty. Vanessa didn't touch the paper. I never... That signature is clean, he said, tapping it. We did it at your friend's art gala, remember? The lawyer with the velvet blazer? He was very helpful. Vanessa stared at the page and felt the room tilt, remembering a night of dim lights and loud music, flashes, a hand guiding a pen through a maze of donor agreements. What did you bury under this? She asked. Devon's smile got thinner. Insurance. For both of us. Mama Rose moved the paper aside with 2 fingers, like sliding a snake from a child's feet. A storm blows dirt, she said softly. We'll sweep later. He threw his hands up. You're not listening? You think I'm the villain, but I'm the only one playing offense. While you're busy lecturing me, your baby's house is on fire. Candace's head tilted. Meaning? Devon looked straight at Vanessa. Meaning your route optimization code? The one everyone in Atlanta thinks is magic? People have been trying to buy it for a year. I told them no. I kept them back. Guess what happens when you cut the guy who holds the rope? Vanessa kept her face calm, but her stomach turned. Rivals had circled VJ's software like hawks, yes. She'd said no each time, but Devon had always acted like those calls never reached her desk. Candace's radio murmured. She stepped to the side, listened, then turned her body in a way that made everyone in the room straighten. Say that again, she told the radio, voice flat. Devon half smiled. They're good, aren't they? Quick little ghosts. Candace ended the call. We've got motion alerts at VJ headquarters, she reported. Server room hallway. Door access logged 20 minutes ago. By whom? Vanessa asked, blood rushing to her ears. Keycard registered to Devon Taylor. All eyes swung to him. He lifted his eyebrows. I'm flattered you think I can be in 2 places at once, he said. But either the building got itself a miracle, Or someone made themselves a copy months ago when you started trusting me with keys. Kill power to the server corridor and lock the inner door, Vanessa snapped. Already on it, Candace said, fingers flying on her tablet. Mama Rose did not look at the screen. She looked only at Devin. Who is in my child's house? She asked, not loud, not dramatic, just straight. Devin shrugged. Maybe a friend who believes in market freedom. Maybe someone tired of being told to wait their turn. Vanessa took a step toward him. Names, she said. Now. He said nothing. Candace turned the screen to show a grainy still, a figure in a VJ hoodie, baseball cap low, gloved hands, a backpack bulging at the zipper, head turned away from the camera at the exact bad angle. The person paused, pulled a phone, lifted it to the badge pad, and passed through the first door. A second camera caught the shape of the shoes, scuffed white trainers with a strip of reflective tape peeling off at the heel. Vanessa stared. Those shoes. She'd seen them. On a courier who whistled at dawn. On a kid who'd told her shyly that his mother watched her speeches. On the line at Mama Rose's market a week ago. She recruits from the streets, Devin said lightly. It's beautiful, until it isn't. Lydia Brooks, the councilwoman, stepped into the light from the back, having arrived quietly and taken a seat near the wall. Watch your mouth, she told Devin. The only reason half this city stands up straight is because Rose taught it how. Councilwoman, Devin said with a small bow. Nice to see your campaign still remembers whose checks cleared. Lydia's eyes narrowed. We returned your last one when your background didn't match your mouth. Candace's radio crackled again. Headquarters, a distant voice said, strained. We've secured the corridor. The intruder doubled back when the lockout hit. They left a bag behind. You should see this. Candace put it on speaker. Describe. External drives labeled with routing map dates, raw invoices, donor lists, and, cash. A lot of cash. With a sticky note. A pause. It says, for the market, second sunrise. No cameras. The room went quiet. Devin's smile came back, slow and mean. It's funny, he murmured. When people work in shadows long enough, they don't notice what sticks to their hands. Vanessa looked at her mother. Mama Rose's face didn't flinch, but her eyes sharpened, calculating distances. Candace, she said, have your team catalog everything on video. No one touches a bill without gloves. Already in motion. Devin spread his hands. So what's your play, chairwoman? Arrest me for slapping your pride? Call me a thief while your little empire hides cash in backpacks and moves data like fruit in a bucket? Mama Rose's gaze never left his. Truth has a long breath. He leaned forward, voice a whisper meant to be heard. So does a lie if you feed it. He had enough time to enjoy his line before the ballroom doors swung wide, and 3 people strode in. One uniformed APD officer, one woman with a badge on a chain around her neck, and a man in a slate suit carrying a thin folder. Rosemary Johnson, the woman said, clear and official. I'm Investigator Morrow with the Georgia Department of Revenue. We're executing a warrant for financial records related to Second Sunrise Recycling and the West End Community Market. Candace stepped between them on instinct. You can't. We can with a signed order, Morrow said, holding out the document. There's probable cause alleging diversion of charitable funds, unreported income streams, and, her eyes flicked briefly to Devin, collusion with insiders at VJ Holdings. Devin didn't smile this time, not exactly. His face settled into something like relief. The officer looked past Candace to Mama Rose. Ma'am, we'll need your cooperation. Vanessa's chair scraped back. This is a setup. Morrow's tone stayed even. Then it will collapse under daylight. For now, we need to ask Ms. Johnson to come with us. A hush fell that felt heavier than the one after the slap. Mama Rose rose slowly, smoothed her faded dress, and lifted her chin. I walk, she said. I do not run. The officer nodded and moved forward. Metal glinted. The cuffs clicked shut around Mama Rose's wrists. The police SUV rolled through early evening Atlanta, lights painting the wet streets red and blue. Inside, Mama Rose sat upright, wrists cuffed, gaze steady on the window. She watched the city she had stitched together, block by block, person by person, slip past in fragments. A corner store that once let her warm her hands. A church basement where she'd folded donated blankets. The West End lot where second chances now came with soup. At the precinct, investigator Morrow kept her tone even. Ms. Johnson, you're not under arrest for violence. These are financial questions. Mama Rose smiled without showing teeth. Every fight begins with numbers before it becomes noise. They placed her in an interview room with glass on one side and a humming vent overhead. Morrow set down a recorder, a legal pad, and a thin stack of bank printouts. Second Sunrise Recycling, she began, receives donations that are not fully reported on line items for the West End market. We've traced cash withdrawals routed through a trust with concealed beneficiaries. Mama Rose's hands lay still on the table. A trust whose tax filings are current. Check Schedule O. Morrow blinked. You know those forms. I know where sunlight goes, Mama Rose said softly. Please read the signers. Morrow flipped pages. Her pen tapped once. Initialed by R.J., one of the trustees. Rosemary Johnson, Mama Rose said. Yes. Morrow's jaw moved, surprise suppressed by training. Then why cash? Because some folk won't show up if you ask them to sign for dignity, Mama Rose answered. Because not every need behaves like a receipt. The cash ledger is in the lockbox at the market, with copies made every Friday. She lifted her chin. If an envelope was found at VJ headquarters, ask who took it there and why they wanted the cameras off. Morrow's eyes shifted just slightly. She'd heard Candace's radio earlier. We are asking, she said. We're asking everyone. Through the glass, Vanessa stood on the other side with Candace and Councilwoman Lydia, watching. Vanessa wanted to burst in, to shield her mother with her own body from papers and suspicion and the cold discipline of process. Candace touched her arm. Strong helps strong, she whispered. Let her carry her part. We carry ours. Then we carry fast, Vanessa said. What have you got on the server breach? Candace swiped on her tablet. The keycard was cloned 6 weeks ago. We backtracked the duplication event. Ping came from a burner phone that shared Bluetooth handshakes with Devin's device at the gala and at your office 3 other times. Clean enough for a judge, Lydia asked. Clean enough to get a door open, Candace said. Vanessa kept her eyes on Mama Rose. You were right, she murmured. Light, not noise. Inside the room, Morrow clicked the recorder. Ms. Johnson, do you consent to a voluntary statement about the origin of funds for Second Sunrise? I'll give it, Mama Rose replied. And I will give you names of families who eat because we don't ask the wrong questions first. Morrow nodded. This is Georgia Department of Revenue case number. Before she could finish, a uniformed officer slipped in, leaned to her ear and murmured. Morrow's brows knit. She rose. Excuse me. In the hallway, Devin had arrived with an attorney in a sharp navy suit and a sharper voice. My client is here voluntarily, the lawyer said. We understand false allegations have been made regarding Mr. Taylor's property and movements. We're eager to clear this up. Devin stood a step behind, face carefully arranged. I'm here to cooperate, he said to Morrow, unlike some people. Mr. Taylor, Morrow replied, we'll speak when appropriate. He glanced past her to the glass where Vanessa and Lydia watched. He lifted his hand, spreading his fingers as if to say he meant no harm. Vanessa's face did not move. Candace's phone buzzed. She answered, listened, then held it for Vanessa. HQ again. Talk, Vanessa said. We got into the abandoned bags drives, her IT lead said, voice tight. Nothing's wiped. Someone assumed they'd walk out. The drives contain cloned routing code, our code, with metadata tying returns to a shell vendor. Kite Logistics, registered last spring. Their contracts map perfectly to the neighborhoods we plan to expand into. Vanessa's mind ran ahead of the words. Owners. 2 layers of LLCs. Top layer manager, Taylor Strategic Ventures. Candace's eyes flicked to Devin in the hallway. Print it, Vanessa said. Bring it here and lock down every external API. We're cutting feeds until I say otherwise. On it. Morrow returned to the interview room and sat. Ms. Johnson, we are expanding the scope, she said. Do you have any knowledge of a company called Kite Logistics? Mama Rose looked at the glass, not seeing it, seeing Vanessa instead. Only this, she said quietly. Kites are beautiful when they are held by strings you can trust. Morrow exhaled through her nose, a nearly sigh. Ma'am, I don't decide guilt. I follow paths. Right now the path splits. Then walk both, Mama Rose said. Back in the hall, Devon's lawyer grew bolder. If you're going to insult my client, he told Candace, do it on record. Make it easy for us to collect. Candace smiled without warmth. Don't worry, you'll get a receipt. A detective from APD Property Crimes trotted up, breathing hard, holding a clear evidence sleeve. Inside sat the magnolia brooch. Prince came back, he said. The lawyer smirked. This should be good. The detective held up a report. 2 clean sets, housekeeper, expected, and second set, partials align with Mr. Taylor's right index and middle finger. Devon's lawyer laughed. Partials, align? That's not court ready. The detective shrugged. Maybe not alone, but paired with the kitchen footage and the linen cart, it's a nice little choir. Devon set his jaw. His eyes found Vanessa again. For a split second, the performance fell away, and something colder looked out. Not pleading, not even angry, calculating. Vanessa felt a chill. She turned to Lydia. How fast can we get a judge? Lydia was already dialing. 10 minutes if the right door opens. Candace's tablet pinged 3 times in quick succession. She glanced down, frowned, and then her posture changed. Vanessa, she said, your corporate email just received a blast to media. Untraceable sender. Mirror links. It's a cache. Financial snapshots, donor notes, rough internal drafts. Out of context, ugly. She swallowed. And footage from the banquet. The slap. 2 angles. Cut to look like your company threw a poverty show for entertainment. Devon's lawyer smiled. Tsk. Vanessa steadied her breathing. We answer with full context. Not tonight. Not in anger. We hold. Candace nodded. We hold. Inside the interview room, Morrow clicked off the recorder for a moment. Ms. Johnson, she said gently, whom would you like to call? Mama Rose tilted her head, considering. I have 2 calls, she said. One to church, one to a city I visited once with gloves on. Morrow hesitated. The first I understand. The second? Washington, Mama Rose said. There is a woman at Treasury who owes me a truth. Years ago, I sent her a letter about a man who launders respectability through charities he doesn't love. Morrow stared. And his name? Mama Rose nodded toward the glass. He's practicing his smile right now. Morrow slid the phone across. Mama Rose dialed. Ms. Whitaker, she said when a voice answered. It's Rosemary. Yes, the same. I'm ready to pull the sheet. Silence, listening. Then, yes. I'll wait. In the hallway, Devon's phone buzzed in his pocket. He ignored it until it buzzed again. Longer. He glanced down. The message preview floated against the glass of his own screen. Kite. We're in. Uploading code. 15 minutes to full copy. Your badge worked. After that, burn. He lifted his gaze and found Candace already watching him. She had seen the reflection in the glass. Her voice cut through the hallway. Hands where I can see them, Mr. Taylor. Devon's lawyer barked. On what basis? On the basis that obstruction is a bad outfit, Candace said. And he keeps trying it on. Vanessa pressed a palm to the glass, to her mother's calm silhouette beyond. We end this, she whispered, with light. A door at the far end of the corridor swung open, and 2 figures strode in, one with a federal crest at her belt, the other carrying a sealed envelope. Agent Whitaker, U.S. Treasury, the woman announced, voice clear as bells. We are assuming jurisdiction in a joint financial crimes investigation. We have a sealed order to secure assets related to Kite Logistics, Taylor Strategic Ventures, and any derivative beneficiaries. The room, the hall, the city seemed to tilt toward her words. Agent Whitaker looked past everyone and spoke to Mama Rose through the glass as if it weren't there. Ms. Johnson, she said, thank you for your letter. Devon's face drained of color. And then Candace's radio exploded with a shout from VJ headquarters. They breached the inner door. Backup generator kicked the lock. They're at the rack, pulling the core. The speaker went dead with a crackle. If you're watching on African Tales Vault, now's the moment to support stories like this. Tap subscribe Hit like and share with a friend who loves powerful African and diaspora drama. Tell us where you're watching from. And answer this. What would you have done if you were in that ballroom? Have you ever seen something like this happen? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We're reading. Sirens thinned into the night as a convoy peeled away from the precinct. Two APD cruisers, a Treasury sedan, and Vanessa's SUV with Candace at the wheel. Mama Rose sat in the middle row, wrists free now. A thin red mark where the cuffs had kissed her skin. Agent Whitaker rode up front, phone on speaker with VJ headquarters. Inner door breached, power locks looped, the IT lead repeated over the hum of the engine. We triggered a dead man on the core, but they hooked a portable UPS. I've got 5, maybe 7 minutes before they yank a blade. Candace pushed the SUV harder. Hold them in the corridor. Kill elevator calls. Vent hall with negative pressure. Make it miserable. Copy. Vanessa stared through the windshield at the glass needle of her building. If they touch the routing kernel... Mama Rose laid a hand over her daughters. A good recipe lives in the cook, not the pot, she said. But we don't let them take the pot either. They swung into the underground garage. Candace snapped orders as they moved. One team to stairs, one to server corridor, one to roof. Whitaker lifted her badge at the lobby checkpoint, and the guard stepped aside. On the 42nd floor, the air ran cold and metallic, laced with ozone and fear. The corridor beyond the second security door was a narrow ribcage of light. 2 figures in hoodies knelt at the central rack, one clipping a drive sled free with gloved hands, the other holding the UPS like an infant. Their shoes flashed as they pivoted. Scuffed white trainers, reflective tape peeling. Hands! Candace shouted, voice a whip. The one with the UPS bolted left. The other froze, then reached, not for a weapon, but for his cap. He tugged it higher. A young face tipped into the light. Wide eyes, a scar through one eyebrow. Panic blooming. Jamal, Vanessa breathed. He swallowed. Ms. V, I'm sorry. They... Candace swept in, disarming panic with practiced motion. On your stomach, palms spread. Her team cuffed him gently, almost apologetically. The runner hit a locked fire door and ricocheted into a wall. A Treasury agent folded him with a clean tackle. The UPS clattered and died, lights blinking out. Agent Whitaker stepped over cables, calm as Sunday. Names, she said to the runner. He kept his chin tucked, breathing loud through his mask. Or we do pockets, Candace said, and did, prepaid phone, a key card with Devon's name sharpied on a strip of tape, and a matte black money clip stamped with 3 letters, TSV. Whitaker's eyes flicked to Vanessa. Taylor Strategic Ventures. Jamal's breath hitched. He turned his head toward Vanessa, shame and relief fighting behind his face. They said if I didn't help, my mom's insulin stops tomorrow, he blurted. They knew where she keeps the spare key. They had pictures. They told me to leave that money for the market so it would look like us. Mama Rose finished softly, stepping into the harsh corridor light. She knelt, not close enough to threaten, just enough to be eye level. Who has your mother's prescription account, baby? Someone called Vic, Jamal said, tears salt shining. Said he runs things for Mr. T. I never met Mr. T, I swear. Victor Kane, Candace said to Whitaker. Devon's operations consultant. 2 priors for wire fraud. Beat both on procedure. Won't beat this, Whitaker said. Not with our toys. Candace's radio spat static. Then her IT lead again. Heads up, we're seeing pings from external nodes hammering the API. It's a flood. They're trying to exfiltrate the kernel in fragments. Good news. The hard drive that holds the seed tables is still in the cage. Bad news, they injected a cron task 2 days ago. It's set to auto-push a patch to all root clients at 03. Vanessa checked the wall clock. 02:14. Black Friday surge would peak by dawn. What does the patch do? Looks like a silent reroute cascade, the lead said. It will divert our trucks onto optimized paths that push them through fewer tolls and more shared corridors. In reality, it creates choke points and mismatches time windows. It'll look like VJ carnage, late deliveries, gridlock, maybe accidents. They'll call us incompetent or predatory, and your rivals will sell themselves as the fix by noon. Kill the Kron, Vanessa said. We can't. Not cleanly, the lead answered. It's paired to a watchdog that will publish a confession dump if it doesn't detect the push. Someone wrote in a spite fuse. Someone who expects you to pull the plug, Whitaker said. Mama Rose stood. Calm had weight when she carried it. Then we tell the truth before the lie gets its shoes on. Vanessa nodded, fast and decisive. We go public on our own channels with full technical detail. We show the attacks, the code path, the shell companies. We shut down deliveries for 2 hours and move with escorted convoys only. We risk penalties. We save lives. I'll eat the headlines. Candace was already texting. I'll get APD traffic to set cones at the 3 worst choke points. We push a hold to all drivers now. Pull to safe location. Engines off until 0330 unless flagged. Whitaker turned to the runner in cuffs. You picking your mask or your future? He glanced at Jamal, then down. Future, he muttered. Good, Whitaker said. Start with who gave you that money clip. The runner's jaw tightened. Victor, he said. At a bar near Midtown. He said Mr. Taylor doesn't like being told no by a woman. Candace's mouth quirked. He's about to learn he's not the only one who makes calls. They moved as a unit. Candace to command, Whitaker to chain of custody and warrants, Lydia to judges and traffic chiefs, Vanessa to her war room. Mama Rose stayed with Jamal as the cuffed young man trembled on the tile. You bring your mother to the market at sunrise, she said. No matter what the news says by then, she will eat. You will both eat. He nodded into the floor. I'm sorry, he whispered. I know, she said. And you stopped. That counts. In the glass-walled conference room, Vanessa stood before a camera with the city spread behind her. No makeup, no jewelry. The magnolia brooch sat on the table between her hands, a silent rebuke to theft and pretense alike. I'm Vanessa Johnson, CEO of VJ Holdings, she began, live feed rolling to employees, clients, drivers, and a public stream. In the next hour, you'll see claims about my company and my family. You'll see a patch scheduled for 03 Sherwin. Here's what that patch really is. She spoke cleanly, tense but unshaking, while the IT lead screen-shared code, comments, timestamps, and the TSV money clip beside the keycard with Devin's name. She named the risk in the response. She asked drivers to stand fast and neighbors to be patient. She thanked APD and Treasury by title, not favor. We built this company to move things right, she finished. Tonight we choose right over easy. She looked to Mama Rose through the glass. The older woman dipped her chin once, a benediction without words. Candace lifted a hand. 27 minutes to the Kron, she said. Holding pattern engage. Alarms bloomed on a wall display, 3 angry red nodes on the south loop. The IT lead zoomed in. They're already forcing early tests, he said. One truck shifted toward a closed ramp near a construction zone. What truck? Vanessa asked. Unit 7 Gulf, he said. Driver, Tasha Brooks. Lydia's head snapped up. That's my cousin. Patch her through, Candace ordered. Tasha's voice crackled into the room, breath tight. Dispatch? My map just jumped. It's telling me to take the Freedom Parkway exit, but cones are up. I can see brake lights. There's a 12-wheeler across the lane. And, hold on, my wheel just stiffened. The assist is fighting me. Kill auto assist, Candace said. Manual now. I'm trying. Oh no, a pickup just fishtailed. He's... Metal screamed faint on the line. I'm okay, but the map keeps yanking the arrow back to the ramp. Vanessa's mouth went dry. Pull over, Tasha. Shoulder. Full stop. Hazard lights. I can't. Shoulder's blocked by barriers. I've got 20 tons of produce and I'm in a river of idiots. Whitaker tapped a number, voice clipped. APD, Unit 7 Gulf, Freedom Parkway, now. The wall clock ticked. 02:38. New alert, the IT lead said. Something just authenticated a mirror of your admin keys, Vanessa. It's pushing a signed override to trucks flagged as priority clients, not ours. It's trying to force the cron early. Vanessa stared at the signature hash. Her own name winked back from the string. That's impossible, she said. Those keys never leave. The lead's cursor circled a second signature braided into the first. He zoomed. The characters resolved into a familiar identifier. Trust, RJ Primary. Mama Rose's trust. The room went silent. Whoever did this, the IT lead whispered, is using the trust's signing cert to impersonate you. They're making it look like your mother authorized the override. Mama Rose closed her eyes. Just once. Just briefly, as if bowing into a wind. Candace's radio hissed. Tasha's voice came back. Thinner. Higher. Guys, the truck ahead of me just jackknifed. The ramp is closing. The patch is forcing 3 more behind me toward it. I need a lane now, or we're going to stack. The clock hit 02:41, and on the conference screen, a second window bloomed. An email drafted from Vanessa's address to her entire client list. Finger over the send that wasn't hers. Subject, confession. We cooked roots for profit. Here is how. It was queued to blast in 19 seconds. Cut power to outbound mail, Vanessa said, voice level. Block every domain except Treasury, APD, and our own driver network. The IT lead's fingers flew. Pulling SMTP egress. Now. But the attacker queued the blast through a fallback relay. 19 seconds. Kill DNS on that relay, Candace ordered. Done. 15. Agent Whitaker leaned to the mic. APD, this is Treasury Liaison. We need an immediate rolling block for Unit 7 Golf at Freedom Parkway. Clear 1 lane and hold back inbound traffic. Priority. Copy, the dispatcher replied. Sirens swelled somewhere below. Vanessa stared at the second signature, hugging her name in the forged keys. Trust RJ Primary. How could they sign with my mother's cert? Mama Rose answered without looking away from the screens. Because I built a door for storms, she said, and someone stole a copy of the hinge. 10 seconds, the IT lead warned. Spoofed confession email primed. Mama Rose put both palms on the table, steady as a metronome. Go to the revocation service, she said. Open the trust dashboard. That's a state portal, Whitaker said. It's slow. It will move, Mama Rose replied, and reached for the magnolia brooch. The clasp clicked. Inside the vintage setting, a tiny steel tongue folded out. A security key, no wider than a fingernail. Vanessa blinked. Mama, you build with what you have, Mama Rose said, and slid the key into the laptop. I taught a volunteer at the market to solder when his hand shook. He taught me to hide a lock where thieves see only pretty. A prompt flared. Insert hardware token. She placed her thumb against the metal. The portal accepted. 3 seconds, the IT lead said, breath shallow. Route revocation to emergency path, Mama Rose murmured. Rotate D key item. Kill the attack signature. The portal hesitated, then flashed green. Trust RJ Primary. Revoked. On the wall, the forged email's timer hit 1 and froze. A gray banner stamped across it. Sender signature invalid. The IT lead let out a laugh that sounded like a cough. It died. The blast died. Rotate DKIM now, Vanessa added. New keys. Public record updated. Keys rotated. DNS publishing. On the traffic feed, blue lights bloomed. APD cruisers slipped into position behind Tasha's truck, easing cars back until a shoulder lane opened like a seam. A motor officer waved, boots planted, body a small anchor in a river of steel. Tasha, Candace said, voice firm in the radio. Lane appears on your right. Feather the brake. Manual. Ease over. I see him, Tasha panted. I see the officer. Taking it? Come on, baby. There, I'm over. A low cheer rolled through the war room. Agent Whitaker tapped the runner's evidence bag. Your mask or your future? She repeated. The young man nodded at Jamal. It's Victor, he said. He runs drop sites out of a storage unit near Piedmont. He uses drivers who won't ask questions. We were supposed to walk the drives to him at 3. Whitaker was already dialing. IRSCI Task Force, she said. Warrant at Storage World Piedmont. Unit 314. Go. Vanessa turned back to the code. We still have a cron in 19 minutes. We can't simply cancel it or we trigger their spite fuse. The IT lead rubbed his temples. We need a patch that pretends to be their patch. Same signature path. but does nothing. A no-op that reports success to the watchdog. Write a shim that returns a fake success code and sets a unique beacon on any client it touches, Candace said. Let them think they won. Then we'll know every point they reached. The lead's eyes lit. I can do that, but we need the right signature. Mama Rose slid the brooch key back into the port. Sign from the trust's secondary emergency cert, she said. The one no one knows exists. Whitaker arched a brow. How many keys did you hide, Ms. Johnson? As many as the city needs, Mama Rose said simply. The shim compiled. The clock rolled to 02:57. Tasha, Candace radioed. Hold position. 2 more trucks are approaching your old choke point. They will try to force the ramp. APD is redirecting. Do not move until 03:05 unless you see officers waving you personally. Copy, Tasha said, breath evening. Vanessa glanced at the skyline. Lights washed silver by a light rain. She looked back to her mother. You once told me dirt isn't the enemy, she said. You were right. It just tries to be everywhere at once. Mama Rose smiled with her eyes. So does soap. 3. Ray. Deploy shim, Vanessa said. Pushing, the IT lead replied. Watchdog ping. Returns success. Cron satisfied. No route changes. Beacon set. And I've got them. 4 external nodes tried to handshake the real payload and accepted ours. They're all linked to Kite's cloud. One bounces through a coffee shop Wi-Fi downtown. The others are residential proxies. Candace pivoted. APD, send a car to 9th and Peachtree. Check the late-night coffee shop. Pull camera footage. Whitaker's phone chirped. She glanced and smiled for the first time that night. Storage unit hit, she announced. We have Victor Kane in cuffs, laptops, cash, burner phones, and a page of first names mapped to tasks. One says Jamal, UPS assist. Another says Dev, morning show, 7 Warno. We're copying now. Morning show? Vanessa repeated. Candace checked the clock. That gives him 4 hours to spin. Make it 0, Lydia said, already texting. Judge is awake and cranky. We'll have a protective order in 20. The conference door opened and the detective from property crime stepped in, damp from the rain, evidence bag hoisted. Housekeeper's statement is on record, he said. She placed the brooch for charity. Mr. Taylor touched it. Prints match. And the linen cart route to the men's lounge? Guess whose phone geofenced there at 11:52? Devon, Candace, Vanessa, and Whitaker said together. He nodded. Warrant's on the wire. Pick him up before the cameras wake, Whitaker said. No heroics. The detective tipped 2 fingers. We know the difference between justice and theater. In the corridor, Jamal sat on a bench outside the war room, a blanket around his shoulders. Mama Rose knelt and took his hand. You'll come to the market at sunrise, she said. We'll get your mother's medicine right. Tears slid down his cheeks. Why are you being kind? I hurt you. You stopped when truth touched you, she said. That counts more than you think. He nodded into the blanket. The night eased its grip. The building exhaled. On the wall map, the red nodes softened to amber, then green. Drivers checked in from safe shoulders, engines idling low. The city did what cities do after they almost broke. It adjusted. Candace leaned against the glass, finally breathing all the way down. We're not out, she said, but we're standing. Vanessa squeezed her shoulder. You held us. A Treasury agent stepped in with a fresh printout. Chain on Kite is clean, he said. Taylor Strategic Ventures at the top, shells below. We froze the accounts we could touch at midnight. When banks open, the rest goes on ice. Good, Whitaker said. Leave them enough to sweat, not enough to run. Vanessa's phone buzzed. A new email, no spoof, no trick, popped up from an old address she hadn't seen in years. The subject line was a single magnolia emoji. She hesitated, then opened it. The message was 3 lines. Nice to see you still wearing the flower. Tell Rosemary the river runs in 2 directions. Our Vanessa's skin went cold. She turned the phone so Mama Rose could see. Her mother's face did not change, but something old moved behind her eyes, a shadow stepping into a doorway it once owned. Who is R? Candace asked. Mama Rose touched the brooch, thoughtful. The other person whose initials are RJ, she said at last. Another trustee? Whitaker asked. Mama Rose nodded once. Registered and hidden long ago. He was meant to be gone. Gone how? Vanessa's voice was small and fierce at the same time. By choice, Mama Rose said. Yours and mine. The building seemed to grow quiet again, as if it wanted to hear. Is he connected to Devon? Candace asked. Mama Rose's answer came like a door sliding open. He taught men like Devon how to choose teeth over tongues. Whitaker straightened. Name. Mama Rose looked out at the wet city, then back at her daughter, and said the name they had not spoken in a decade. Richard Johnson. Vanessa swayed, as if someone had tilted the floor. My father, she whispered. Before anyone could answer, Candace's radio crackled one more time. Units to Taylor's condo, a voice said. Suspect not present. Building cam shows him leaving 10 minutes ago with a rolling case. He headed for the garage. Another voice broke in over the first. Dispatch to all. Be on the lookout. Devon Taylor may be in flight. The magnolia brooch lay on the table between them, its hidden key still warm, its petals catching the first pale hint of morning. And somewhere in that gray light, a man with RJ for initials read their moves like a map and began to write his own. Dawn came up thin and silver over Atlanta, the kind of light that makes the truth look taller. Candace's radio chattered on the conference table, while the skyline brightened like a promise. Vanessa stood with her palms on the glass, looking down at the waking streets her company helped move, her mother's brooch glinting near the laptop's trackpad. Mama Rose sat quietly beside Jamal, who had dozed off with the blanket over his shoulders. The worry eased from his face for the first time all night. Agent Whitaker's phone vibrated. She listened, eyes narrowed, then pointed to the wall map. He's not headed to the airport, she said. Devon ditched the parking garage and took a rideshare toward the river. He stopped under the old freight bridge and changed cars. Second driver paid in cash. Running to who? Candace asked. Not to, Mama Rose murmured. Back. Vanessa understood. To Richard. Lydia arrived with a thermos of coffee and a judge's order, still warm from the printer. Freeze on Taylor's Strategic Ventures is locked across 3 banks, she said. And the morning show he thought he owned? Pulled his segment. They're running a community spotlight on West End instead. Candace's tablet chimed again. Street cam hit, she said. Devon's second car just turned onto a dead end by the river warehouses. She zoomed. Building 18, no signage. Long lease paid through a shell. Old bones, Mama Rose said. He likes them because no one asks why they creak. Whitaker snapped her case shut. Let's end it, she said. No show. Clean and fast. They moved, an unflashy convoy of purpose. The river lay flat and gray when they reached it. Building 18 crouched at the water's edge with boarded windows and a rusted roll-up door. A gull cried overhead like a hinge. APD units eased into position on the street. Treasury agents took the rear. Candace led the approach with 2 officers. She raised a gloved hand and touched the latch. It gave. The roll-up door climbed with a rattle that sounded like coins spilling onto concrete. Inside, a lean office with a metal desk, a coffee pot, and 3 chairs. A corkboard covered in string and maps. A second room with a single window onto the river. Devon stood near it with his rolling case open, hands hovering over stacks of documents he no longer controlled. Across from him, a man with salt in his beard and hard, careful eyes turned slowly to face the doorway. Richard Johnson looked older than his absence, but his voice still walked into a room like it owned the floor. Rosemary, he said, as if she had been the one to leave. You brought friends. Mama Rose stepped over the threshold and stopped. Richard, she said simply. Devon's eyes flicked between the faces, calculating one more time. He lifted his hands half an inch. I'm just a guest, he started, but Agent Whitaker spoke over him. Devon Taylor, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit wire fraud, attempted theft of trade secrets, and obstruction, she said as agents moved. You have the right to remain silent. He went quiet at last. Candace and 2 officers slid past him to the desk. The room smelled of paper, cold coffee, and river metal. On the corkboard, red string-tied VJ wrote to city council districts, to shell companies, to a single label printed in plain type, Magnolia. Vanessa stared. You used her flower for your map. Richard's gaze landed on his daughter. A lifetime of silence lived inside it. You used it for your chest, he said evenly. We're both sentimental. Sentiment didn't slap anyone, Vanessa said. Pride did. Greed did. Devin shifted as the cuffs clicked. You think this is about money? He said, a cracked laugh fluttering out. It's about place. Who gets to have one? Exactly, Mama Rose said. You chose yours with your hand. Whitaker moved to the second room and pulled the shade. Light poured over a folding table stacked with ledgers and hard drives. She lifted a notebook with her pen. Cash entries tied to kite drop sites, she read. Payments to Vic and D and R. Richard didn't flinch. There's no crime in being efficient, he said. Your daughter's company was ripe for routing. I taught the city how to move, remember? You taught men to cut lines they didn't stand in, Mama Rose replied. He shrugged. Lines are for people who show up late. Vanessa stepped toward him, voice low. You left us late, then blame the clock, she said. If you wanted a seat at this table, you should have stayed when it was only a stool. For a heartbeat, something in Richard's face softened and almost became regret. Almost. Then he looked past her to the river. I didn't leave because I couldn't love you, he said. I left because I love Speed, and Speed loves a man back if he feeds it. And when Speed got hungry, Mama Rose said, you fed it with people. Whitaker signaled to her team. We're done talking, she said. Mr. Johnson, by the authority of... Richard lifted his hands. Don't waste your agency words, he said. You win this room, but you won't win the story. From the hall behind them, a new sound rose. Voices. Not media. The cadence was wrong. Not police. Too soft. Candace turned, alert, then eased. Market volunteers, she said, surprised. Councilwoman, did you? Lydia shook her head. I posted an update for Calm, she said. They made a plan. The door widened like a heartbeat. A few elders from the market, 2 drivers still in night jackets, a deacon from the church, and 3 teenagers with sleep in their eyes and determination under it filed in, quiet and as steady as a tide. They didn't shout. They didn't point. They stood in a row along the wall and looked at the corkboard with the red string like they were reading a list of names they knew by feeling. Richard's gaze twitched for the first time. What is this? He demanded. A truth you can't out-talk, Mama Rose said. People who got tired of being diagrams. One of the teenagers, Jamal, blanket traded for a donated jacket, lifted his chin. You almost made me a ghost, he said to Richard, voice clear. My mother would have buried me alive and never known why. I won't be that for you. Devin looked away. Whitaker's partner moved to Richard's side with cuffs, firm and respectful. Richard Johnson, you're under arrest for financial crimes and conspiracy, she said. You have the right. He didn't resist. He only glanced at Vanessa one last time. You built a beautiful engine, he said. Don't let it turn into a church. She built a road, Mama Rose answered. Churches keep roads honest. They took Richard and Devin out into the morning that had finally arrived. No reporters waited at the mouth of the alley, only mist and the scrape of wheels on concrete. The volunteers left as quietly as they came, one pressing a paper cup of tea into Mama Rose's hand as if the river had poured it. Back at headquarters, the war room felt larger in the daylight. The shim had done its work. The watchdogs slept. The trucks rolled again, slow, careful, right. Tasha checked in with a laugh that sounded like relief wrapped in coffee steam. Got the greens to the east side, she said. Folks will eat. Vanessa stood before a camera one final time that day, not to plead or spin, but to name what was broken and what would be mended. She spoke about the patch, the plot, the arrests. She named Jamal without shaming him. She thanked the drivers and the neighbors who held their horns in their tempers while the city learned to breathe again. She did not mention her father at all. When it was done, she and Mama Rose walked to the West End lot as the market opened. The air smelled of stew and damp cardboard and early hope. Children chased each other between tables of books. A woman tried on a coat and cried quietly into its collar. Jamal arrived with his mother, her hands thin and steady around a paper sack of medicine Whitaker's team had arranged. She hugged Mama Rose as if fitting herself back into a story she once loved. "Thank you," she whispered. "Trade secret," Mama Rose said, smiling. "When you have enough, you give away the recipe." Vanessa watched her mother speak to a line of people who called her chairwoman and auntie and Miss Rose in the same breath. She looked down at the brooch in her palm, the little magnolia that had been a lock all along, and pinned it to her dress. "Mom," she said. Mama Rose turned. "Let's write new bylaws," Vanessa said. "Put this trust where everyone can see it. No more hidden hinges. We build with windows." Mama Rose nodded, eyes soft. "Light makes better carpenters." They sat on the low wall as the sun finally found the bricks. Lydia joined them with paper bowls of stew. Candace dropped onto a crate and let herself laugh until the tension fell off her shoulders like an old coat. Whitaker checked her phone, then looked up, satisfied. "They're booked," she said. "No morning show for either of them. Just a judge." Vanessa breathed in the ordinary morning, the best kind of wealth. "Thanksgiving," she said quietly. "We're late to the table." Mama Rose reached for her hand. "Right on time." Across town, a headline failed to go viral because people were too busy eating warm food handed to them with respect. In a warehouse by the river, red strings sagged as if the board knew it had lost its work. And in the files of two different agencies, a line appeared that would keep other hands honest for a long time. This is how folktales end in a city that moves. Not with a spell, but with a choice. A man raised his hand at a woman he thought was small. He learned that small things, keys, truths, names, open the biggest doors. A daughter learned that love is a road that needs both speed and signs. And a mother proved again that what the world throws away can become the cornerstone if someone is willing to see it clean. So the lesson sits where everyone can see it. Don't measure people by the dust on their sleeves. Measure them by what they lift, by the hands they hold, by whether they make the road safer when it's dark,